So maybe you're a new Christian, or you just started actually believing in Jesus Christ, right? And maybe you're confused about exactly what you're supposed to be doing now. Well, the Bible says that for him who knows to do righteous and doeth it not, to him it is sin. And the Bible has a lot to say about, like in James chapter 2, I believe it is right there in the beginning, where it says, like, if a person comes in a long robe and has a ring, and you tell him to come and like sit in the front and stand here, and then you tell someone else, like to be your footstool when they're poor, that's actually that's the wrong thing, right? So maybe you're a new Christian and you're seeing these people on TV, like maybe you see John MacArthur or R.C. Sproul or Joyce Myers, and you're looking at all these things, Chuck Swindoll and Chuck Smith and James Vernon McGee and all these guys, or Adrian Rogers. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. There's so many people. T.D. Jakes. Um, well, in Genesis chapter 6, it talks about how there were tyrants in the earth in those days. And you've probably seen that word translated giants, because that King James didn't actually like that particular word tyrant. So as in Numbers 13, when you see giants, and you see there in um, chapter 6 of Genesis, you see the word giant as well, when that word is actually in fact a tyrant, and that means those who fall. Like I like there was this guy, he's always on that like Ancient Alien show, or he was the one who kind of gave that whole feeling, like, but he says that Nephilim means like from those who from heaven to earth came. But I don't think that that's actually an accurate translation, but it actually demonstrates a good point, because the giants are the ones who fall on the people. That's what that word actually means, Nephilim. So it's actually a tyrant, because that's what happens is they fall upon us, right? It's like when you were born into a system of currency, you didn't choose to actually to like lug around these little paper dollar bills, and like some of the foreigners actually we're thinking about creating a new gold standard, like some of those guys like Saddam Hussein, and there's that other big guy that they killed. His name's not coming to the tip of my tongue right now, but they say that some of those guys were actually thinking about creating and backing, using a gold standard with the money. And there's actually this thing called the petrodollar, where whenever people buy and sell gas, they actually have to use like American currency. Actually, I'm not real familiar with how all of that works, but I'm just demonstrating the point that we didn't decide to lug around a dollar bill, right? Like, we might have just wanted to plant crops, and maybe we would want to use the bartering system, where we could just trade, like maybe a TV for some food, or a TV for a car, or something along those lines. It's just a lot of the things we're born into because we are poor. We don't create policy. We have to rely on the policy makers to actually tell us what to do. So that's them falling on us, right? Because if it was up to us, maybe we would not want all these boundaries. We wouldn't want all these fences in the way. So we could just kind of move across the land at will, and maybe we'd like to eat food, or go somewhere where we could just grow our own crops. But instead we're met with these fences, or it says like government property, keep out, U.S. property, keep out. Maybe you're poor and you're downtrodden and you can't afford a home, and you try to go and live in a park, and they say, nope, get out of here, right? So a lot of the problems we have is based off of the tyranny that we experience on a day-to-day basis, because people fall upon us with their ideas. And it's like it's the same concept as terrorism. They use fear to progress their political motives and everything. Like, if you don't have health care, you're doomed. Well, I don't know if y'all are familiar with anyone who's been living eternally, but even if you live a long, rich, luxurious life and you have all those dainties and pleasantries, they die too, unless there's something that we don't know about, But it seems like they're still aging, like Bill Clinton's getting old, President Bush is getting old, Obama's getting old, Everyone's is gonna die someday. Doesn't matter how much money you have, how rich you are, how much of a celebrity status you've reached, and then when you're dying, you're not gonna, those celebrity status and how much you did for the government and stuff's not gonna matter, because you're gonna be gone, you're gonna be dead, you're gonna leave all that behind, and you can't take any of it with you. So, as I said, I know that's probably a lot to swallow, especially for a new believer, but just understanding that God has a government of His own, and His government entails just telling people the truth, kind of like I'm doing now. Like, I'm not trying to overthrow the government. I'm not trying to do anything to cause problems or start some kind of a crazy thing like the NRA might do, right? They might go start a militia, and then you're following some sociopath/psychopath to do his bidding. I'm just encouraging you to learn and to see things for what they really are. Like, it's okay to talk about slavery. It's okay to talk about homosexuals. It's okay to talk about transgenders, and talk about how all of that stuff is wrong. It's okay to tell somebody that the original Constitution actually helped slavery along until the North said, well, maybe this wasn't a good thing to put in the Constitution, and then the South got in an uproar, right? Like, it's really funny, because it's like you have all these constitutional like militias and stuff like that. We're going to uphold the Constitution. Well, sorry to let you down, but in 1965 they made a big change, or in the 1860s they made a huge change to where the Constitution actually had written into it that it was okay to own slaves, right? I mean, that's insane. I don't agree with that, but it's like, if you're a constitutional militia, which Constitution are you defending? Because the Constitution is subject to change, just like it did in the 1860s. Now, I mean, I'm just talking about looking at it critically. You have to call it what it is. It's like we have a new Constitution now because the law constantly changes. So it's not like the Constitution is a regular thing that men of power can't change at their will. So I'm just talking about looking at the life, and like at school, like how they don't teach anything that might get people upset. It's called bowdlerizing, because you try to take out all of the offensive material that might make somebody mad. But in real life, life is full of complicated decisions and problems and all kinds of things that people don't really allow you to talk about. So, all right, well, I appreciate y'all watching. Sorry I got a little distracted there because my son is screaming in there. So, just stay strong and rely on Christ, and know that God is your King, and don't look to these tyrants to be the ones who feed you, because they can't feed you. According to Hosea chapter 13, it says that God is our King, and God gave Israel a king in their fury, but the truth of the Bible is we're supposed to rely on Him and to look to Him, because He is our supplication, it says in Corinthians. So God is our supplication and not man. And what we find going on in these systems that men are inventing is tyranny, oppression of the poor, and they just want control of you. So I actually meant to say sufficiency, not supplication. So God is our sufficiency. So anyways, I wanted to just make this video, and I hope that it helps you. And if you're a new believer, just get involved with Jesus Christ, and don't start getting involved with all of this silly religious games that people like to play and play dress up, and they're going to be trying to milk you as much money as possible. And so they're just other forms of tyrants, and they fall upon you and try to implement their policies upon you outside of what Christ has actually provided for us. So I hope that this video helps, and I'll do more on this for kind of helping new believers along. So thanks for watching, and y'all have a great day. Bye.